The starter should not start a race until the timekeepers are ready. There are a number of ways centres communicate this information through two-way radios, hand signals, flags or whistles. In events where athletes stay in their lanes for the whole race, the starter gives 3 commands. On your mark, which is the signal for the athletes to move forward to the starting line. When all athletes are still, the starter then gives the next command. Set. This is the signal for the athletes to move into the position which they will start the race from. 3 things can occur at this point. When all athletes are still, the starter fires the gun to start the race. If athletes are unsteady, the starter asks the field to stand up. He then is able to start the race again. If an athlete runs before the starter's gun, the gun is fired a second time to indicate a false start. In little athletics, each athlete is allowed a second chance to complete a fair start before being disqualified. In events longer than 400 metres, the starter only has 2 commands. On your marks, and then the gun is fired. Accurate timing in running events is important so athletes can record their progress throughout the season. The stopwatch is started when the timekeeper sees the flash or the smoke from the starter's gun. Waiting to hear the gun will result in an inaccurate time. Stopwatches differ from one another, but generally a simple stopwatch has 3 buttons. Stop-start, which starts and stops the clock running. Split, which records a time but continues the clock running. And recall, which toggles between the split time and final time. A time not ending in a 0 is always rounded up to the closest tenth of a second and recorded to 1 decimal place only. The athlete's race finishes when their torso crosses the line. The torso is the area between the shoulders and the waist and does not include the arms. Running events all share a few simple rules. When athletes are running in lanes around a bend, they must not step on or inside the lane line on their left-hand side. This results in them running a shorter distance. At championship level, it can result in disqualification. At centre level, it is recommended with younger athletes to explain to them the importance of running in their lanes. In unlaned middle distance races, athletes are not allowed to obstruct one another or to jostle each other, although accidental contact is sometimes acceptable. In the hurdles, there is no penalty to the athlete for knocking over hurdles, providing they have made an attempt to clear them. Deliberately knocking down a hurdle or touching one with the hand can lead to disqualification. In the long jump and triple jump, there are 4 key officiating roles: recording, take-off area, spiking and raking. If necessary, some of the roles can be combined, but competition runs more smoothly if there are different officials for each role. In addition to recording the result for each athlete, the recorder has the responsibility of letting each athlete know when it is their turn to jump. The official at the take-off area should ensure the take-off mat has an even amount of sand on it, and in the triple jump, ensure it is in the position chosen by the athlete. The official's next role is to ensure the athlete does not commit a foul by overstepping the take-off area. If the jump is not a foul, once the official spikes the jump, the take-off area official measures the jump by pulling the measuring tape back to the impression made by the athlete's foot on the take-off area. If the athlete jumped before the take-off area, the measurement is taken from the back of the take-off area. In the under 13 age group and above, the measurement is always taken from the front of the board as the mat is not used. The official with the spike places it on the mark made by the athlete closest to the take-off area. For example, if the athlete falls backwards on landing, the impression in the sand is where the spike is placed. The official who rakes the pit should ensure the sand is soft and loose and there are no dangerous objects in it before competition starts. Before each jump, the official should make sure the sand is level so that the next athlete's jump can be accurately spiked. The best way to rake a pit is to fill in any footmarks from the side and then level out the sand by pushing it back towards the take-off area. The high jump upright should be positioned close to the landing mats, but wide enough apart so that the bar rests on the prongs and does not touch the upright. When placing the bar onto the prongs, a good way to ensure they aren't touching the uprights is to place the little finger between the two. The height of the bar is always measured from the centre and the top of the bar. An attempt is successful if the athlete clears the bar without it falling off. An attempt is deemed a failure if the bar falls as a result of the athlete hitting it. A jump is also a failure if the athlete takes off from 2 feet or they gain assistance from touching the landing mats as they jump. In states where the scissors technique must be used, it is counted as a failure if any other technique is used. An athlete's competition is over when they have 3 consecutive failures. These failures do not necessarily need to be at the same height. In the shot put in the discus, there are 4 key roles to be filled: recording, circle, spiking and retrieving. If necessary, some of these roles can be combined, but competition flows much more smoothly if there are different officials for each role. In addition to recording the result for each athlete, the recorder has the responsibility of letting the athletes know when it is their turn to throw. The official at the circle in the shot put has the job of monitoring if the put is legal. They should be positioned to ensure they have a clear view of the shot and the neck. If the athlete pulls the shot away from the neck during delivery, it is a foul. The official is also responsible for ensuring the athlete does not overstep the circle or walk out the front of the circle. Both of these actions result in a foul. Once the throw has been spiked and is ready to be measured, the official pulls the tape through the centre of the circle and the measurement is taken from the inside edge of the circle to the closest centimetre, rounding down. The official with the spike places it at the mark where the implement landed, closest to the circle. Depending on how the competition is being run, this may involve the throw being measured immediately or a mark for each athlete being placed on the position of their best throw. If the implement lands on or outside of the sector lines, it is a foul. The official who retrieves the shot should wait for it to come to a stop before picking it up and walking it back to a predetermined area near the circle. Implements should never be thrown or rolled back. In the Javelin, there are 4 key roles to be filled: recording, arc, spiking and retrieving. If necessary, some of these roles can be combined, but competition flows much more smoothly if there are different officials for each role. In addition to recording the result of the athlete, the recorder has the responsibility of letting the athletes know when it is their turn to throw. The official is responsible for ensuring that the athlete does not step on or over the line of the front of the throwing arc. Doing so results in a foul. This official is also responsible for monitoring if the throw is legal. It must occur above the shoulder rather than with a slinging action. Once the throw has been spiked and is ready to be measured, the official pulls the tape through the mark in the middle of the runway and the measurement is taken on the inside edge of the arced line to the nearest centimetre, always rounding down. The official responsible for spiking must first determine whether the throw was legal. For the throw to be legal, it must land on its point first. The javelin does not need to stick into the ground, but mark the ground where it first hits. Throws not landing tip first are fouls. If the throw is legal, the spike is placed where the implement has marked the ground closest to the arc. Depending on how the competition is being run, this may involve the throw being measured immediately or a mark for each athlete being placed on the position of their best throw. If the implement lands on or outside of the sector lines, it is a foul. The official who retrieves the implement should take care when removing it from the ground. The javelin is best removed by placing one hand on the end of the javelin with the other in the middle on the grip and remove it the same way as it went into the ground, gently rotating if necessary. The javelin should be walked back to the predetermined area near the run-up and never thrown or slid back. There are a number of systems used by centres, but generally it involves recording the name and number of the athletes in their finishing order and later recording the times from the timekeepers. Time should be rounded upwards to the nearest tenth of a second and only recorded to 1 decimal place. Recording sheets for the long jump, triple jump, shot put, discus and javelin are essentially the same. There is one row for each athlete and one column for each of their attempts. The distance recorded in each attempt is entered into the appropriate cell. If the athlete records a foul, a cross is entered into the cell. If the athlete passes an attempt, a dash is recorded. The recording sheet for the high jump has a row for each athlete and a series of columns where the heights attempted are listed. These columns are split into sub-columns where the result for each of the 3 attempts an athlete can make at each height is recorded. If a jump is successful, a circle is placed in the appropriate cell. If a jump is unsuccessful, a cross is placed in the cell. If the athlete passes to another height, a dash is used. The competition is over for an athlete when they have 3 consecutive failures. The height which they have last cleared is then entered into the right-hand column. At the end of the competition, the athletes' performances are ranked in descending order to determine the finishing places. If 2 athletes have the same best height, a countback is applied. Whichever athlete has the least attempts at the last successful height is ranked higher. If that does not break the tie, the least amount of total misses is used. If that does not break the tie remains, except for first place in some competitions where a jump-off takes place.